pleasure to welcome you to the Financial Information Month Business Symposium and Innovation Forum 2016. For those of you who have been following our progress throughout the years, you will see that the Business Forum has expanded to the Business Symposium and the Innovation Forum, so we're really in for a treat tonight. I extend this welcome on behalf of over 20 partner agencies throughout the OECS, who work together each year to mount a month of activities geared towards enhancing knowledge to enable growth and development. Tonight, we have the benefits of two dynamic and diverse yet connected themes. I should say this afternoon so that you don't get worried that we're going too late into the night. So this afternoon, you're welcome. We have the benefits of two dynamic and diverse, as I said, yet connected themes. So we have policies to support the rise of the creative industries in the OECS by Dave Cox, Creative Director, Publisher at Caribbean Bride. Welcome, Mr. Cox. All right, welcome to St. Kitts as well. We also have Improving the OECS Business Climate by Jose Rosa, President of the St. Kitts Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce, as well as the General Manager of Cajola Cristada Limited. Welcome. As I welcome you tonight, and you'll have to forgive me because I'm an educator, so I will have to go down that road for a little bit as we start our evening. I invite you to consider the root of the word educate, which is the Latin educere, which can be simply translated to mean to lead forth. Such a simple yet entirely empowering translation. And I hope our students from the CFBC and any other students who are joining us throughout the sub-region this evening are really paying attention. Essentially, we are all engaged in education. We are all leading people forth. In the banks, when we educate clients on finance options. In the studio, when we advise on packages, angles, lighting. At the manufacturing plant, when we train new staff members. Daily, each of us leads people forth. This Business Symposium and Innovation Forum embraces that concept and provides an avenue for synchronous dialogue from Anguilla in the north to Grenada in the south. Moving forward as a collective, each year as we gather to receive knowledge from our presenters and probe further with engaging questions and comments, and I'm sure you will have a good few questions and comments for our presenters this evening. Tempted as I am to expand on concepts of education and knowledge sharing, especially in the context of this particular symposium, I will finalize this warm welcome with a reminder of this year's theme: cope, create, optimize, pursue, embrace. It is said, peace is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to cope with it. Let us find peace as we move forward together with enhanced knowledge this afternoon. Welcome one and all to the Business Symposium and Innovation Forum 2016.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me kindly adopt the protocol already established. Good afternoon to our participants in the other islands, in Nevis, your sister island Nevis, Montserrat, Dominica, Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, am I missing any? St. Lucia, and Grenada, how can I forget? Pleasant good afternoon to everyone. We plan to have a very enlightening session today, and I trust that we will all participate and be active.
Good afternoon. Dave Cox is the Creative Director and Publisher of Caribbean Pride magazine and CaribbeanPride.com. The publication offers planning tips and travel information for destination weddings and honeymoons in the Caribbean and Mexico. A photographer for over 20 years, he has shot all over the world for clients that include bridal fashion houses, banking institutions, and hundreds of destination weddings. He's also the creative director at Digital Coconut, a visual content marketing agency. The boutique agency provides media solutions and strategies to travel and tourism brands and publishes Eden Life magazine, which is a luxury travel and lifestyle publication for Eden hotels and resorts. It gives me great pleasure to present to you Mr. Dave Cox.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, special invited guests. It's definitely an honor to be here. I'd first like to thank the ECCB for the invitation. I'm ashamed to admit I was born in Barbados, but I've never gone to St. Kitts before. I've lived in Toronto now for 20 years, traveled all over the globe, from Africa to Hawaii, but I've never gone to St. Kitts. So when Ms. Sybil Welch first reached out to me, she checked in to make sure I was interested in coming to St. Kitts. I said for sure. And she just won't get back to me with the date. And I was crossing my fingers hoping that it would be in January or February. Those of you who live in Toronto, travel to Toronto, will understand why you would want to leave Toronto in January or February. It was October, but still a beautiful time. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here. So today we talk about policies to promote the creative industries in the OECS. I'll start first with a quote. Without change, there's no innovation, creativity, or incentive for improvement. Those who initiate change will have a better opportunity to manage the change that's inevitable. This is from William Pollard, who's a British clergyman. So my plan today is just to look at some policies that we can do to affect the change in the creative industries. And I hope somehow something I say would at least spark a discussion or find some way to actually help creative industries here in the OECS. So first, this is a little bit about me. As you've heard, I've been a photographer now for over 25 years actually. Grew up in Barbados. I fell in love with the camera early. From high school, I worked at a photo lab, then the newspaper in Barbados, where I shot everything from accident scenes to sporting events, and fell in love with weddings for some reason. Always a beautiful thing, weddings. I worked at a resort where we were shooting probably 2 to 3 weddings a day. And that was the height when the destination wedding craze really took off in the Caribbean. So I've been fortunate now to continue shooting weddings. I still shoot quite a bit of destination weddings. I've shot from Johannesburg to Hawaii, all over the US. So weddings still keep me quite busy. Out of my wedding world, I got hired to work at a magazine in Atlanta. I do for brides. And there was the creative director and head photographer for 4 wedding magazines. So my whole world switched from just real weddings to publishing weddings. So now shooting models in wedding dresses, going to wedding venues. So still along the lines of visual communication, but then maybe in publication. And that's where I really saw the need to have a publication that could focus on the destination wedding industry in the Caribbean. The trend was growing. This is probably like 15 years ago. And destination weddings were going from just something where it was just elopement. 2 or 3 people would go to the Caribbean to get married, to 10, 20 people. Now the average destination wedding is around 48 people. And there are weddings now that we feature like 200 people flying into a destination. So destination weddings have really taken off and really developed in the last 10, 15 years. So I started Caribbean Bride, and then following that, we started Eden Life magazine, which is a luxury travel magazine we do for Eden hotels and resorts. And they have 12 properties in Africa, 4 in Canada, 1 in Barbados. And they also own ASL, private jet company, and Jet Netherlands. So we do all the magazines on private jets, 30 private jets across Europe. And then besides publishing, then I started Digital Coconut. Because a lot of work I was doing in Caribbean, I realized there was a big need to help promote the Caribbean destinations and properties in the Caribbean. So I partnered with a marketing professional, Andrew Lone, who's here with me today from Toronto. And we started Digital Coconut. And we're a media solutions company for travel and tourism brands. So we work with a lot of villas, small resorts, we do some consultancy with tourism boards, and everything from going to a hotel and taking pictures of rooms, to developing the websites, social media strategies, Of course, in-room publications, we do everything that a travel or tourism brand could do for marketing. We were very fortunate, we were featured by GoDaddy, and last year I got to ring the bell at the New York Stock Exchange when the IPO went live. Let's do the delay. So, let's begin. So who are the creatives we talk about? For me, I think about the arts, visual performing arts, those in craft, film, advertising, IT software, music, and of course publishing. So how can we help the creative industries? How can we help change the platform and the culture of the Caribbean, where we can recognize these creative industries and actually make them viable businesses throughout the Caribbean? So let's begin. First and foremost, education. I believe that in every territory, not just islands in the Caribbean, but every territory should have institutes for entrepreneurship. And these are places where people interested in starting their businesses, usually small and medium businesses, could come together and learn mainly about the business end of these creative industries. Every photographer is not a good business person. Every craft person is not a good business person. So I think it's so important that we should always start from this end. Look at the business side of it. Look at how to start your business, how to hire people, how to manage money, how to budget. Because these are things that can guarantee your success as you move forward. And of course, skills seminars and workshops. The creative industries are constantly evolving. I remember when I started photography, we had film. And then quickly, I remember when the first digital camera came out, it was a big deal. It was like $30,000, $40,000 for a camera. And now, your cell phones can take pictures better than that. So technology is constantly evolving. So it's so important that whatever skill you have, there must be time spent to make sure that these skills are constantly updated with local seminars, with professionals, but also bringing in local international talent. Different people that can actually show you some of the trends that are going on in North America and other parts of the world that can improve your skill sets. And then there's mentorship programs. I remember when I started Caribbean Bride, I read a lot of books about starting businesses, and I was naive to think because I've worked for magazines for most of my life, and I knew about photography, I knew about weddings, I could start my own wedding magazine. But one day I got to meet this guy that was one of the original starters of the Nation newspaper in Barbados. And it was great to actually sit down and talk to a person who'd gone through all the things I've done before. He was there and he told me stories of, starting the Nation newspaper, the climate back then, the publishing, and when they had their first printing press, it actually fell off a boat in the harbor. There's all these great stories he told me that actually tried to remind me that, you will learn all these things, but you'll never be prepared for everything. It's so important to stay the course, stay confident in what you're trying to achieve, and just believe in yourself. And sometimes a little good luck always helps them as well. It's been cut off on this. But actually, identify entrepreneurship as a viable career path. I think we're missing a line there in the back. I'm not sure if we can zoom it back or something. But I went to a pretty prominent school in Barbados. I did my O-levels. I did English, Spanish, French, geography, history. But I was never aware of entrepreneurship as actually a career path. And this is something now, especially moving to Toronto, recognize is taught in other parts of the world. I actually met a lady at a conference a couple of months ago, and she does camps for kids between 7 to 10 years old, where it's an innovation camp, where kids could go to camp and they would start off with just a simple problem, like one of the swings not working properly, and then they would come up with a whole type of innovation of how we can improve the swing, make a presentation, and parents would come in and watch this presentation. Because creativity and innovation is not innate to everyone. I think it's a skill and it's a muscle that needs to be nurtured, just like all the other things that we learn at school. So it's so important, not just from the tertiary level, but to have kids being involved in innovation from an early age. and really recognize it's actually a viable career path. I mean, at school we were told to be a lawyer or a doctor or work at a pharmacy or a bank. I was never told that it was hard to be an entrepreneur. I mean, when I first, I left school and then I started taking pictures. My mom was a little worried at first because I wasn't working anywhere as far as she's concerned. But that's just the mentality of the Caribbean. They never really saw entrepreneurship as a career path. Luckily, things worked out well for me. But I think it's so important that we can show kids at an early age that entrepreneurship is actually a viable career path. Secondly, finance. Low interest loans and grants. I mean, most small to medium businesses, you always need startup capital. And also grants, there are a lot of government grants available, but in my experience, especially growing in Barbados, they're never easy to access. It's all very tedious, hard to find them. The whole application process is quite a process. So having access to grants and having good information so we can access these grants, I think could be very beneficial to the creative industry. Also, access to investors. And this could be part of what we're saying to as part of Institutes for Entrepreneurship. There are a couple of institutes in Canada that have programs for entrepreneurship, and they always have a sector associated with them where investors can be part of the schools and get to meet some of the young entrepreneurs, see what they're producing, and how they can be involved in their investment and help them to grow their business. So we're the tax incentives for businesses and innovations. Canada's really been in the forefront to offering tax incentives. There's a credit called STRED, and it's scientific research and engineering in design. So businesses that are actually developing creative industries, innovation, you get back these credits for being part of the economic climate and actually contributing to innovation in the country. Also tax breaks for materials and also duties. I have a lot of friends that are artists in some of the different islands, and they always complain about the duties involved of bringing in equipment. And not just like camera equipment, stuff like that. I'm talking about artists bringing in canvases and stuff like that. I always have, especially when I go to Barbados, I always have to travel with a whole set of brushes and stuff like that because duties on some of these imports are like 200% in Barbados. I remember several years ago, a friend had a t-shirt company in Barbados, and the duties were of importing t-shirts was 200%. So it was hard to be sustainable in that kind of climate. You're paying $6-7 US for sure, but the time it landed in Barbados it was $14, and then you had another 200%. So your beer costs, I mean, you were close to $50 already just for a t-shirt, and you still need to have the markup. So it's hard to support a business when you have those kind of duties. And also, and this is one that we experience a lot in the wedding industry, the ease of moving money for businesses. I'm sure this is something that the central bank, especially, is a little secure on. We have a lot of wedding vendors in the Caribbean, and the situation is we have a bride, say in Germany, and they want to book a photographer. But they need to first make a deposit, but sending money to the Caribbean, the easiest way of doing it is stuff like PayPal. But unfortunately, how the banking system is set up in the Caribbean, it's not very easy to remove the money from the institution and actually transfer them onto your regular banks. So I could be paid for PayPal, but then I can't actually pay my vendors here because I can't withdraw the money from PayPal. So if there was an easy way of making money easier to move, I mean, everyone doesn't like the convenience of wiring money, the expenses and the inconvenience of wiring money to the Caribbean compared to when we're doing businesses, say, between the US and Germany or US and Canada. It's so much easier. Everyone has a PayPal account or RePay account and easy to transfer money. But unfortunately, it's not very easy to transfer money in the Caribbean, and I have a lot of wedding vendors that actually complain about that and actually have said that they've had brides cancel them because they found the whole process of doing business in the Caribbean very difficult. And for small businesses, I mean, every bread you lose, I mean, this is significant. Not just to the survival of business, but to the lifestyle and families and for the economy of the Caribbean. So I really think that this is a way we can actually look at making it easier to transfer money from North America to the Caribbean and being able to access it. It can be a great thing for a lot of these creative industries. Third, affordable workspace. Government business centers. Barbados actually has a small business development building. And what they do, they have subsidies for rent. So you have usually smaller offices, but you have a place where small businesses could have an office space, an affordable space, a place to have meetings, and also we have a chance to network with other businesses in the same field and other fields as well as part of the development. And this really helps, especially in the startup phase of your businesses. Promotion of private shared workspaces. In Toronto now especially, shared workspaces are a really big trend. This is like WeWork, is Regis, but a lot of these buildings, and you could just, instead of just having an office where you have a big office space, you pretty much just rent a chair, and you have access to a boardroom. So you pay a monthly fee, and you may have access to a printer, fax machine, telecom system, have a place to have your meetings. But this way, you don't have the whole cost of setting up your whole office, but you're not working from home either, especially when you're having meetings. It looks a lot more professional when you have an office space you can have to invite people and have your meetings. So shared workspace is now a big, in Toronto and also in New York, there are probably 5 or 6 that have gone up in the last 2 years, the shared workspaces. And I know there's one that just opened in Barbados, Regis just opened one in Barbados. So if we had more shared workspaces like these, this could be really beneficial to these creative industries. And of course, art spaces. The film industry especially, they're always looking for places to film. If you have large, I know there's one that is in Trinidad now, there's a creative center that's open in Trinidad. But we had more spaces like this where artists could come together, a place where people could promote themselves, but also house art exhibitions. This can be really beneficial to the creative industry. Infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, not just physical infrastructure, but also regulatory. I think there should be departments of creative industries. Let's say we have your ministries of finance and housing and lands and foreign investment. There should be a department of creative industries where there's a board put together that can actually look at devising the policies that affect these industries and actually have the industries involved in the policy making, decision making, to actually help the industries grow. Perfect. Secondly, establish and police copyright laws. Intellectual property is the cornerstone of most creative industries. I think we all know in the Caribbean we're a little casual when it comes to copyright. I mean, I was traveling once and I was in some island and I was going through a newspaper and I saw an ad for back to school. And the picture looked familiar. There was a whole ad in the full page newspaper. It was one of my images. This back to school of 3 little boys that I took probably 7 years before that. So I called the company that were advertising this back to school with my image in it. So I brought their attention just to let them know that I'm actually the photographer for this image. And they're just very, oh, well, it's not our fault. You took a picture, so what can we do? So okay. So they put me in contact of the design team that they hired, because to them it was not their responsibility. They hired someone to do an ad for them and didn't care or know where the picture came from, and they were not responsible. So I then had to proceed a little further. I had to call this design company that used my image. And I just brought to attention, I'm actually the owner of that large picture in the newspaper. And it was just very casual, very nonchalant. Oh well, we saw it online, so we thought it was hard to use it. And unfortunately, that's kind of the climate that goes on in the Caribbean, especially now with the social media age. You know, you take pictures, you put them online, and everyone thinks they belong to everyone. And the cost and time associated with going after people that constantly use the images, I mean, it's not really worth it. I mean, again, I've been doing photography for over 25 years. I'm sure my picture's in some ad in Hong Kong. I would never know. But these things happen. And it's not just small industries. I remember I did a project for a large international company, and probably 3 years later, someone sent me a picture of a billboard up in Jamaica. I said, "This looks like a picture that you did." I said, "Actually it is, and I was never paid for that." And they paid to use the image once in a store, but then they decided to use it on a billboard. But these things happen. They're very casual when it comes to intellectual property. So I think it's so important that we really, and it happens not just in photography, music especially, it happens all of it. I mean, we've all downloaded songs that we're not paid for. This is standard in the Caribbean, unfortunately. But we really need to recognize that intellectual property is the cornerstone of much creative industries, and we need to respect and actually establish strong laws and police them. That's the important part, police them. I mean, I could still go to Trinidad at any time around Carnival and buy a CD next to the street with clips of music. It's standard. Because we just don't understand the importance of the copyright issue and how it affects the creative industry. Good. And to promote associations. Again, back to my reference to the wedding industry, I think it's so important that in each territory there be local associations where people in the industry could get together and network, share ideas, experiences, problems that they've had along the way. And then they in turn could then lobby those departments in the government to help create change. But again, using the wedding reference, we at Caribbean Bride have been trying to do this now for a couple of years. And I know a lot of small businesses in the Caribbean, again, especially to weddings. A lot of people are a little hesitant to come together and share ideas. People think that, if I tell, Sally too much that has a wedding planning industry, she might, want to steal my clients. I don't want her to be too much better than me. But again, that's just a Caribbean thing. But it's something that we need to overcome. Because in the US and Canada especially, there's so many institutions where people in the industry can get together and share ideas, share experiences, and help each other to grow. You're not competition to each other. I mean, we're a small Caribbean. We're one Caribbean. So it's so important that everyone comes together in these industries and help to lobby, help to learn from each other, and help the creative industries to grow. And finally, invest in telecommunications and infrastructure. I have quite a bit of friends in the film industry in Canada. And I'm always trying to get them to come to the Caribbean and do work, but they're always complaining it's hard to travel to the Caribbean, it's hard to rent materials, it's hard to ship stuff here. And I get it. I've come here several times doing shoots with different magazines. Remember once we did some stuff for a bridal designer. And we were doing 10 pages in the magazine, and we had to ship 20 wedding gowns to an island. And it took us over a week to get them cleared from customs. The wedding dresses that came in just a photo shoot, they were convinced that we were bringing wedding dresses to sell. I swore to them I am not a wedding shop. All I am is a photographer. And we had a team of makeup artists, stylists, models, but they were convinced that we were selling wedding dresses and they wanted us to pay 400% duty on each wedding gown. And this happens. I had to talk to people at FedEx, and I talked to the manager at FedEx, and they put me through this other person. And after 7 days, and the crew's now in the destination, every day we're there, we're wasting time and wasting money. Clients getting frustrated. And I had to get a meeting with the director of customs. I had to go in and show them the magazines, and this is where the pictures are going to be, and all that I had to go through. And the amount of time and money that we lost. I mean, and this happens regularly. I've had several friends that photographers, not just do print, but do film, that have complained of how difficult it is to do business in the Caribbean. Shipping material in, shipping material out, all the red tape. that is associated with doing business in the creative industries. And this really hurts the economy. Again, from Toronto. Toronto is now one of the hotbeds in North America for film. The more films now being done in Toronto than I'll say anywhere else other than LA now in North America. I live right in the heart of downtown, and probably every 2 or 3 months I see those New York taxi cabs, or I see British taxi cabs, because it is so much cheaper now to film in Toronto than it is to film in New York. So the film industry is really taking off in the Caribbean, in Toronto, just because of how easy it is to do business. 5, procurement. Great inclusion in local government projects. And this is something I see a lot in the tourism sector. Living in Toronto, I get to work with a lot of tourism boards there. And it's quite fascinating how most of the agencies, or advertising agencies especially for the tourism boards based in North America, are not regional. They also have this company from Germany or a company from the US. And you can tell. And I can see an ad and just the text, you know, the serene water or the spectacular blue seas. It just never authentic. I can always tell when there's someone not born from the Caribbean, speaking with the Caribbean. And unfortunately, it comes back to, you know, we believe certain sizes of industries or certain foreign entities are always better at doing things than local companies. And again, that just requires a cultural shift. I think that's nothing that I can do or we can do overnight, but we need to start a discussion. Also, incentives to use local creative talent. There are a lot of, again, back to the same tourism industry, there are a lot of really quality film producers that I know can do some of these tourism ads that I see overseas that we bring large companies to do. But they never get the opportunity to do them because we think that we need to bring this big fancy team from the US to do ads to promote our own countries. And inclusion in foreign investment negotiations. Just riding around St. Kitts yesterday, I see there are a lot of hotels and stuff going up here, which is a fantastic thing. But I wish there was a way, you know, when you have a company like a Hyatt come to St. Kitts and say we want to have a property here, that as part of the negotiations we include the creative industries. We said, sure, you can have your hotel, but we think as part of this whole process, 50% of the rooms must have local art. Or mandate that if you have anything above 10 rooms, each property should have one small retail property that can sell local art. Small things like that can actually engage local artisans to be part of the process could be quite useful. Because to the small artists here in St. Kitts, they can't approach Hyatt and say, I do pictures and I would like to put them in your rooms. They don't have that kind of clout. But when the government starts a negotiation, it would be great if the creative industries could be considered and said, you know, sure, you can have your hotel, but, you know, besides just using local artisans, you must also use local artists, local artisans. The soaps in the rooms, I've met some really great people at the Caribbean that do cosmetics. The soaps in the rooms can be also provided by local artisans. This also helps grow the creative industries. Just before I go, one last thing that I saw Katishan Hill yesterday, and I was impressed with the story that all the stonework done there was done by artisans from Nevis. I think that's a great story. And I've traveled through the Caribbean, I've seen a lot of these 5-star properties, and usually there's the special Venetian marble and they bring people from Italy to do it. I see that quite often. So it was so commendable when I saw that yesterday, that we're using local vendors to be part of these international projects. Then recognition. Applaud the term local and value